Luca Hackett's setting up for the night at a small music bar in Sydney's inner west. He's been juggling a few days' work with study and is struggling to keep up with the rising cost of living.
When you go out to buy things, whether it be groceries or even just like recreational things, you do kind of see it piling up a lot faster than it used to.
Workers like Luca got a double tax cut early in the pandemic, with stage 2 of the government's tax plan and the extension of the low and middle income tax offset, known as the Lamington. But there's doubt about whether that offset will be extended again in next week's budget.
Really, any little bit counts, and the idea that they are taking that little bit away from us makes life substantially harder.
There's speculation a one-off cost of living payment in the range of $200 to $400 will take its place. But this would likely also be paid through the tax system, meaning more than 5 million welfare recipients and many very low-income earners could miss out.
About 55% would go to the top 40% and about 16% would go to the bottom 40%.
Ben Phillips says the tax cuts most low and middle income Australians have received recently have barely kept up with bracket creep, where you pay a higher tax rate as your income rises due to inflation.
Average tax rates today are not really different at all to what they were in 2017.
Under stages 1 and 2 of the government's plan, higher income earners have only seen modest tax cuts. But that's about to change drastically with stage 3, which comes into effect in 2024.
Our numbers show that the top 20% of income earners will get about 75% of the total value of those tax cuts.
The Australia Institute think tank also found 80% of taxpayers will be worse off after the stage 3 tax cuts if the Lamington goes. A typical registered nurse would end up paying about $400 more tax than this financial year. The surgeons they work with would pay more than $9,000 less. Your average barrister would see a tax cut more than 10 times the size of the barista who makes their coffee.
Low and middle income households will certainly be paying a higher rate of tax by the end of this decade, whereas the top 20% will still continue to be paying a lower rate of tax.
With the cost of living already surging and interest rates poised to rise later this year, consumer confidence has turned negative. And that's bad news for a government already behind in the polls and facing an election in less than 2 months. Danielle Wood from the Grattan Institute argues the government could reduce other concessions that favour high-income earners in return for their income tax cuts.
Given where we find ourselves now in terms of the budget position, it would make sense to reevaluate both the scale and the design of those tax cuts.
Economist John Quiggin says if that doesn't happen, the next government may have to slash public services or welfare payments.
What we're seeing is reference to budget repair, which is a euphemism for spending cuts or austerity. What we're likely to see, whoever wins after the budget, is a lot of cuts that haven't been announced yet.
Luca is prepared for the worst.
I can't say I'm surprised because these legislations, they're passed through by the people earning that much.
Both major parties have their work cut out to convince low and middle income earners like Luca that their election promises aren't all froth.